Welcome to Book Club. Today, today we are starting a Vindication of the Rights of Woman by Mary Wollstonecraft. We're so excited to talk about this book. Um, Whole new topic, a whole different perspective from where we last were the past, dude, I don't even know, like 12 episodes. My goodness.
Feels like
Um,
it.
so so yeah, pretty excited to dive into this. Before that, as always, Seth, what you been up to?
Me. Let's go. Well, Anna has officially moved to Nashville, so that's
Woo!
kind of been my MO. I've been like hanging out with her cat every day. That's
Cute.
that's been life. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
because
go.
you get to work from home.
Yeah, so I just on my lunch break, I just pack up a little meal to go, and I go hang out with Rocky, for like 30 minutes
Rocky,
to an
What
hour.
kind of
It's
Rocky,
cat?
wonderful. He's an orange tabby.
step
Ooh.
into
And
the
he's a
room.
sweetie. He's so he just wants infinite love, which
He
is
doesn't
like
fall into that orange cat prejudice.
no, no. He's a silly little guy, but he just never wants you to stop petting him, like which is awesome for like the first 30 minutes, and then
Yeah.
you're like
Yeah,
at
you make
minute
it to 30
45, and
minutes?
you're like Rocky, what the hell?
Yeah, I figure I only make it to maybe 10 or 15.
Like I
No,
was
same.
reading. I'm like reading in her apartment while I'm hanging out with him, and it's like he's walking on the book, and I'm like, I'm interacting with this thing right now, like, but he's been
Get him his own
lovely.
little book, dude.
And I
Yeah.
guess Anna being here has been nice too. Yeah, that as well.
Yeah.
But
But not as nice as a cat, is what you're trying to say.
not the cat though.
Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
I'm glad this is the first
Yeah.
thing that she's going to come back to when she listens to this podcast. Yeah.
I know. A long hiatus. It's just me talking about her cat. But other than that, it's been a pretty unremarkable week. Been very busy. Gotten my goal diet back in a good spot. So we're reading books, we're studying for certifications, and we're running. That's been my MO in my free time. So looking to buy some new furniture this weekend. That'd be really cool.
That's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And I will pass it off to Connor. Corner
To
chat.
little old me.
Boom. To little old you.
God. Hey man, shoot. I've just been working. That's it. Got to hang out with some friends on Sunday. Played
There
some
you
old
go.
video games. That was
Oh
pretty
yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah, some people did do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard rumors of that happening.
Sounded pretty fun.
Yeah. It was fun. All the important people were there. So yeah, that's basically been it. I wish I had more.
Working and
Yeah, all
gaming. I
in
like
video
it.
game. That's okay.
That's all right. Yeah.
Sometimes you learn to appreciate the chill moments in life.
Yeah. I'm just chilling. Just on the old grindstone, throwing away my wheat. That's been basically it.
Pushing up that boulder.
Yeah, pushing up
Yes,
that boulder.
sir.
It is my boulder.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say you're feeling Sisyphean.
Yeah, I very much like summer and in my job, dude. That's all it is. You're just Sisyphus for
Yep.
9 months straight.
You
Just a
just
big
have
boulder.
to try to be happy.
Just keep on pushing that fucking boulder, dude. Oh my god. Oh, but it's August. I got 2 more months of just working and working and working. And then I might be able to take off a week.
There you
Just take
go.
off a week now. You have the
If your
PTO.
Lord allows it.
No, yeah, we have our blackout period. We're not allowed to take off any extended periods of time from like March to October, I think.
Because it's the
Like
busy
That's like
season.
it's like the whole year almost.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's chill. It's chill. But yeah, that's basically been it. I'll pass it off to old Howie.
All right, we'll save David for last. So what's happened with me is, well, I went and saw the Odyssey. That was one thing. It was outstanding.
Ooh,
Um,
it was really good.
and then Nicole is now out of town. She's hanging out with her sisters for the week. Um, so I've been doing a lot of reading recently, actually. Um, played some games with some friends on Sunday. Quite a coincidence, Connor.
Wow.
Um,
Crazy.
I
Wait till you hear
also
what I've been doing.
I also I went and saw Young Washington as well. I've y'all have heard that one. It was just about George Washington when he was young, his trials and tribulations. That one was actually also really good. I actually really enjoyed that one.
You feel very
Um,
patriotic.
dude, not gonna lie,
Did they
I'm
show
not
the
the I'm
ugly
not
too?
yeah they do. And I'm not the
Oh,
most
whoa.
patriotic person. Like at the very end of it, there's like some words that were like on a black screen, talking about whatever. And I kind of teared up with patriotism. Um,
No way.
yeah, yeah, like it was outstanding.
I just wish the title of the movie pertained to the movie. Sometimes that's kind of misleading.
Yeah,
What do
what
you
should the
mean?
title have been?
Yeah, I'm like, how's it
It's
not?
just well, you just said like you watched Young Washington and it was about Washington when he was young. I just wish that it pertained to the movie.
Don't think
I feel
jokes
like
flying
I'm
over my
getting
head.
owned. I'm getting annihilated here.
Dude, we'll cut it out in post.
No, keep it. Keep it
Was the
in.
fact that it was like so satirical that was funny? Was that the joke?
Yeah, no, it's
I
stupid.
think
Okay.
I think I'm getting the joke now.
There's no joke there. It's okay. I just misheard you. It's okay.
Okay. Well, it was great. I really enjoyed that movie. I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of been about. Oh, and then I got some gift cards for Barnes Noble, so I went and got more books right here.
You
God
got a whole
damn.
stack.
Yeah, so
Need
that was
another
pretty
shelf
cool,
on me.
dude. I know. Going to need to get like a house or something at some point, man. God, don't have any more place for these books to go to. Um,
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to buy a
yeah, I just got to buy a house
house.
just because I have books. That's the only reason.
I like that
Um,
pipeline.
so yeah, I'm actually going to see the Odyssey again tomorrow, Loki,
Oh,
by
he's doing a
myself.
double.
I'm like
By yourself.
by
You liked it
myself.
that much.
Yeah, yep, I
Wow.
did. So
That's
I guess
awesome.
that's it for me. Is just kind of watching movies, reading books, getting more books, buying a house because I need the place for my books. Everything just revolves around books and movies. Um,
Media.
so with that, pass it off to the best for last, David.
Oh, how sweet. Well, if y'all want to know, I actually played some games with some friends on Sunday too.
No,
Wow.
what game did you
Yeah.
play?
Just a little game. It's really niche. You probably haven't heard of it. Called Civ 6.
You're
No,
right, I
I
haven't
played that
heard of
game
it.
too.
Yeah, I played
That's
Civ 6 on
crazy.
Sunday, dude. That's crazy. Man,
No,
Seth, you really
no.
must have missed out on Sunday, man.
I guess so. And all the important people were there. So
All the important.
Right.
But no, that and the weekend before I went to an internet cafe with Connor and Lexa and some other
wait,
friends.
what?
Yeah.
In
Was that
Houston?
Yeah.
was that
Katie.
before or after the last book club?
Might have
Last
been.
book club was 2 weeks ago.
Yes,
Yeah,
2
we
weeks
played
ago.
games. Well, we were supposed to play games last week on the book club day, but I think Hal got busy.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Dude.
I totally forgot something.
Oh no! Oh no!
I totally forgot an update.
Dang, dude. Oh well, I guess you're not
Yes,
gonna
I
get to talk about it. Anyway, so yeah, I've been pretty good. I've been working. No, that happened. Working also. That's kind of it. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been doing anything crazy, so I'll let Howie finish off with his update.
Yeah,
What else did you do, bro?
I I had my my 1 year anniversary.
Oh yeah,
Nicole doesn't listen to these, does she?
yeah. I hope she
No,
doesn't.
she does. It just
Oh,
I
right before
guess
we're gonna talk about the rights of women.
it was the
That's
it
crazy.
was the honestly things got a little stressful with the event that happened after. I'll talk about it. So I kind of well I didn't even like talk about that event either, but so it's actually a terrible excuse. But so yeah, I had my 1 year anniversary. We went to a steakhouse, 12 Cuts. Very nice dinner. For most of the day, we just kind of just chilled, just hung out, played video games together. Um, just kind of chilled, and we went to dinner, and I gave her a heart locket, a gold heart locket with a photo of me and our cats. Actually, let me just go grab it real quick. Why not?
You're so narcissistic, Howie.
Yeah, dude, I
Interesting.
wanted her to always have. It's just the fact that it's me, you know. That's the only reason.
That's why you liked it.
So this
Oh,
is
that's
the
really
heart locket.
pretty.
That
That's
is
very cute. I
pretty.
like the engravings on this heart.
Me too. It was a very nice find. Um, and these are pictures.
Oh,
Howie
yeah.
Morgan in there, dude.
uh,
Why are you
so
laughing?
yeah,
That
he
wasn't a
picked
joke.
he picked his best. He picked his best.
I had to find the right photo, you know. So yeah, I gave her that, and then we also got no con tickets. Um,
Awesome.
and so she got me a like booklet of like all of our wedding photos, and there's a lot of wedding photos too, so there's a lot of work. So that was very sweet, and it's very nice. I love it. But yeah, and then so we spent about 4 days preparing, or well, mostly her making outfits for the Noah Khan concert, and she did a great job. She put like patches of like bugs, like ladybugs, beetles, caterpillars on the pants legs.
Making them.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
literally
not
making it.
picking, like creating them. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
And
like
awesome.
literally creating
dude,
them.
you've seen the cover she made for that book,
Hmm.
Howie's
Yeah, that's
book.
a good point.
Yeah. So
A good point.
so she did that, and then we went to the concert, and it was just outstanding. Yeah, the concert was great. It was a great time. Um, yeah, I don't know what more to say other than just overall it was great. He played Stick Season, which is like his most popular song. Um, so that was very cool. And some other nice ones that we really enjoyed. But yeah, so that is the final of my update. That is
Awesome.
everything. Yeah, I feel like I was
Glad
forgetting
you got
something,
that
but I couldn't remember.
on the board.
Yeah, 1 year, man, that's crazy.
It
Um,
is crazy. Congrats.
thank you,
Yeah, congratulations.
thank you very much.
What's it? What the fuck is it called?
Jazz
Jazz
hands.
hands.
Yeah, jazz hands. I haven't said that word in so long.
So
There you
yeah,
go.
and now with that, I think it's time we get into women's rights.
Yeah.
Women's rights, baby.
Women's
Yeah.
rights.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because we know about the struggles of women personally.
I wouldn't say
So
I
did
did,
you
David. That's pretty misogynistic of you to say, actually.
so did you guys read the dedication? The very, very
I
beginning?
kind of a little bit of the game, but I didn't finish it. I was like,
I always skip
I
dedication.
low key barely made the entire read today, so I didn't
I'm
bother.
kind of
Oh,
I'm kind of there with you, man. This one took me a lot longer than I expected it to.
photo
Same,
finish.
same. I thought it would take
I
me
thought
like
I
two or
thought I,
3 hours,
dude, same. And then I
dude.
was reading through, I was like, oh my fucking god, wait a minute, I'm gonna need to dedicate more time.
No, I was
Yeah, I definitely
reading it.
need to flatten it out over a couple of
Yeah,
days.
same. I mean, I was reading it and like the dense, like it's just so dense, and also the
Mm-hmm.
vocabulary. Like my brain was actually hurting this morning when I was reading it this morning before I went to work. Like I was like,
It was that. Oh, you
dude,
were cutting it that close.
yeah. But I
You
also
show
read
up to
when I came
work,
back
they're like,
home.
why do you
Um,
look so exhausted?
I actually felt exhausted. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna need some, I'm gonna need some coffee right now. Um, but no, I mean, it was also just because it was very dense. So I just wrote down so much. It also consumed a lot of my time.
Mhm.
Um,
But I wanted to start with the dedication because I think it uh, provides some fun historical context for the book.
Oh,
So
I like that. Maybe I
yeah,
should read it.
pretty much this is to Monsieur Talleyrand Perigord,
is that the same
and
Talleyrand, Connor? Do you know?
of French
Napoleonic French.
Revolution
Well,
Yeah, it
fame.
sounds like it then.
mm, it might be, or at least a relative.
1792.
I
Yeah,
honestly, I
so
don't know how old he was whenever he was with like Napoleon and everything. They
That's
had their
fair.
little kerfuffle.
so we're in the middle of the French Revolution essentially, and it's just blowing the minds of everybody in Europe. And this Bishop Talleyrand has gone before the National Assembly and proposed that in their new, societal order, that they should only educate women with the domestic sense in mind, essentially giving them like a separate track that just trains them to be good women, and that's it. And you know, Miss Wollstonecraft was quite fond of this idea. She wrote all her adoration for Mr. Talleyrand in this dedication, and she actually wrote this book in response to how horrible the idea was, and then dedicated the book to the guy that made her write it, which I thought was pretty funny uh, and pretty petty. Which she's got a bit of a sharp tongue, so I'm not
She
Hmm.
does.
Yeah,
super
She's
surprised.
witty, dude.
she is witty.
Yep.
Dude, she got some bars in here. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh yeah.
She lays it down.
But yeah, that's pretty much why she wrote the book. Like, obviously, these ideas had been ruminating in her
Mhm.
mind for a while, but then this buffoon came up in front of like the newly formed French government and wanted to continue those ideals, and she saw a good opportunity. Uh, so,
Yeah.
yep,
So now we have the book,
yep.
and so what I remember is that she kind of her main thesis. What I remember. Or my main, and I guess I'll direct this to y'all too. What y'all thought like the main thesis of the book was going to be when you first like read the introduction. But like for me, I thought it was kind of like actually going off what you said, Seth, based on the denial of education and the focus of beauty on women, make them like focus on like finding a husband rather than like improving themselves and their own virtue. And so like it's kind of like I get the point off at the beginning of she's mostly blaming the idea of education, like how education is for women, and also the focus on like beauty in the physical sense. Um, so that's kind of what I have, like my ideas were going into it. So I kind of want to hear y'all's thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of her main thesis. Is it's like, you know, it's like all these men writers are making fun of these components of femininity and like making and pretty much coming up with reasons to justify why women are inferior, when in reality those things that they are like making fun of are by design, are like built into the education system to create women as this subservient thing, um, and that it's actually worse for society as a whole when women have this station, that it's not like she's not just advocating for women, she's advocating for humanity as a whole and how
Mhm.
important it is to equally educate everyone.
Yeah. No, that's we like thinking about the time period in which this is written, right? This is like, still kind of rebirth era. We're getting like a lot of new ideas, like John Locke with, like his whole writings, and America took that and ran with it, right? Um, I'm getting a lot of like reason philosophy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's a lot of like, this just makes sense. So why is it not this way? You know, like with John Locke, like, all of the human rights that just, yeah, those should be natural human rights. Why isn't it like this already? Like those should just be human rights. And then with, her beliefs, it's like, if you're only allowing half of the population, at the most, half the population be educated, how is that helping humanity? Why not educate the other half? That doesn't make any sense,
Yeah.
So that's where
Yeah.
I'm getting like the reason, So that's kind of my take. Is I feel like it's literally just gonna be um a book about none of this shit makes sense right now. Like no one is gaining from this. The only people gaining from this is half the population. And how is that good for humanity?
And not even the entire half of the population. A
Yeah,
really
exactly.
small
Mhm.
subsect of
It's
half
a
of the
small,
population.
yeah, the small, very small bit of the population. Because I think the beginning she even goes over like like the working classes.
Okay.
But I don't want to get into that too much. But yeah.
I'm watching both Howie and David deal with distractions at the same time coming in from outer frame. Oh man.
I feel bad for
Yeah,
Connor.
I agree with you, Connor, and I think
Yes.
like it's another thing where it's like at this period of time, I think I kind of realized as reading this, democracy is like a new invention. It's not a standard. So she refers to like monarchy a lot, which I thought was odd at first,
Yes.
but I realized that that's just like what they were in the middle, and especially in the French Revolution, in the middle of like wrestling with that idea of
Yeah.
monarchy,
Like America
right?
is the first like or not monarchy, democracy in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're trying out a whole new experiment, and everybody in Europe is kind of like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
France is
I
like,
wanted
hey,
to
we just killed our king. And everybody's like, that's not good. We're all monarchies. Why are you bragging about
Yeah.
I wanted to say real fast or add a little bit more, and I really like how she didn't just focus. She didn't just focus on the women aspect, even though this is entirely a book made, like you said, as a response to a stupid idea of a man. But I like that she also kind of talks about how this not situation, this chemistry, this relationship that they had at that point was also, like you said earlier, a little bit more also a little detrimental to the man and how they think, because like you said, not educating the whole stupid, you only get half, but even that half is subdivided into even smaller sections. And I also really like how she speaks about virtues and the way that they were how the way that the virtues in her society were formulated. And it's cool to see the connections and the similarities between her ideas of virtue and Nietzsche's ideas of virtues and morals.
I also want to throw it out there. I don't believe she wrote this book just because of what Talleyrand said. You know, like
Hmm.
I want to say this, like that might have just been like the straw that broke the camel's back, or like
Yeah.
the
The
spark
catalyst.
in the match. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, I'm fucking tired of listening to these dudes. Like, read this.
Lay it down, dude. Read
Yeah.
this shit.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah, and I think I guess one last thing as like an overarching framework of an idea. as I'm reading this, I thought it was very interesting because I think some of the ideas expressed in this book definitely seem to be common knowledge in our day and age, but some of them don't. Like, some of it we're still dealing with
Oh
250
yeah.
years
I
Oh
later,
I
yeah.
think
which
especially
is
the
like
like
crazy.
importance of like physical appearance is a major issue
Mm-hmm.
nowadays.
Dude, oh my god.
Well, it's actually crazy. It's like I feel like it's infected both sides now,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
you
like
know.
yeah, for sure. Major problem.
It's crazy because we don't have a framework. I mean, we weren't alive 200 years ago. But and maybe this is just recency bias, or maybe this is just biasy in general. But I feel like it might be worse nowadays than it was beforehand. Or it could just be me trying to compare apples to oranges.
Well, it could be
Hmm.
worse now because of social media, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I'll say that like the core idea of what she's fighting with like education is I
Yeah.
think clearly a lot better in America. I will say, let me rephrase. I'm going to be talking about America here. I know there's a lot of other
Yeah.
cultures that are at varying states of this debate. I'll talk about the one I'm most familiar with. We like the education sense, I think, is like a million times better. I mean, the fact that you go to the
Mm-hmm.
same public school, regardless of, which I think that's like a huge thing already. But I think that when it comes to like how sex and gender are like viewed, it is, I don't know if I would say worse, but it doesn't feel like we've made as much progress. You know, like women have more rights, but I feel like they haven't actually like advanced out of the stigmas that this book talks about.
You can definitely make the argument that, yeah, like women may have more rights, but they're still considered second class to men in a lot of
Yeah.
aspects. Like, and even in America, state by state, it's completely
Mm-hmm.
different.
That
You
is
know,
true.
like in Texas, like there's some fucked up laws that
Yeah.
women have to follow. And like little shit, like my sister doesn't want to change her last name because if she changes her last name, she technically is then required to have everything signed off by her husband.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
wait, what do you
insanity.
mean?
Like for example, we'll use birth control as like an example, right? If a
Mhm.
man wants to get a vasectomy, he can go get a vasectomy. He just has to pay the money, you know?
Yeah.
A woman who's married, wants to have, a hysterectomy. She has to have her husband's approval to get the hysterectomy.
Really? I didn't
Interesting.
know that.
I did not
Yes.
know that.
In Texas. I'm not
If
sure
she's
about other states.
married,
Right. But even then, I don't know if she's allowed to.
interesting.
That is
Or
interesting.
even like, or even like the, obviously abortion's a little more complicated, but it's still the same thing where it's like in certain states
Yes.
it's allowed, in certain states it isn't. It's something that exclusively affects women, or well, disproportionately affects women, say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So
Yeah.
we're not quite there yet.
yeah.
Mhm.
We're not.
We're only going backwards at the moment, at least.
Oh yeah.
Currently.
Oh yeah.
I
We
feel like
made
it's so
strides and
hard to
now we
compare with
It
like
is really hard to
200
compare.
years
Yeah.
ago.
Because I
But
don't even really know what was going on 200 years
exactly,
ago.
right?
you know.
To be fair, 200, plus years ago, I would argue that it was 100% a lot worse
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
now. Like that without a doubt, there has been some strides that have been made. But it's scary whenever you're like, oh well, yeah. I mean, if you compare now to then, it's 100 times better, right? But then you look at whenever that change actually happened, and you're like, that was not that long ago.
Mhm.
Well, the other
So
issue is
that's
that it's
why,
like
It was like 19,
it's not like
19.
there yet either. It's not like
yeah,
how it should be, which is
yeah,
this book is
and
trying
and
to.
I think that's arguably why like we're still having so many issues is because like all the people in power right now they grew up under a very different belief system, and their
Yeah.
parents grew up in a completely different belief system. So that's why like all the shit that's coming in effect is like, well, yeah,
Fucking
that's what,
60 and 70-year-olds are.
yeah. Because like you really look
God
back, it's like,
damn it.
yeah, we like women's rights became a thing and like voting power and all that stuff in like the, you know, like the early part of like the 1900s, but actual like women's rights and like equal opportunities and like all this other stuff, that's extremely recent, like scarily recent. And like job place and like actual life
Dude,
choices
that's
and all this
actually
other
so
stuff.
crazy to think about how recent that is. Because it
Yeah.
feels just so, to me, it feels so second nature, you know?
Mhm.
Obviously, women are equal. Okay, that's so obvious.
Yeah.
But to think
My
about
I
how
mean,
recent that
even
is.
even like when computers were first becoming like a thing, like just in businesses,
Yeah,
like it was not very fair. And that was like 40 years ago, maybe
that
40,
yeah.
doesn't sound
50
long
years
at
ago.
all.
My
Yeah.
mom, okay, she is I'm not gonna say her age, that's disrespectful. But she is a financial advisor, and whenever she started out in her industry, it was 99.9% men,
Yeah.
right? And she was like the one woman in the office, and it was made known to her she was the one woman in the office. But she stuck with it, and now, you know, it's not a big deal. Like doesn't matter anymore. But back then, that was like unheard of. And for a good portion of my childhood, this is uh I had like the inverse of the traditional like family dynamic. Like my dad was the
Mhm.
stay-at-home dad for a long time, and my mom was the breadwinner, and she's always been the breadwinner. So you can see very clearly, like compare it to 250 years ago with this example to now, like tables have completely turned, and that's a good
Yeah.
thing, you know. Traditional dynamics don't need to be a thing. Um, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
still
I
like the
mean,
fact that she went through all
Within
that
your
crap just
mother's
because of her
lifetime.
gender. Yeah, like just in my mother's lifetime, you can see the clear jump.
yeah. And I think this book has really illuminated. I'm just now realizing this as we're talking. Really illuminated something that I've always asked myself when thinking about the history of rights in general, but especially women's rights. It's like why are we still stuck here? Like it seems so obvious to me, and it clearly was obvious 250 years ago. And it's because while the idea is obvious, the things that are maintaining the status quo, the systems and ideas that are in place aren't that obvious. And I think that's where I see, oh, this is still prevalent today. Like well, it's in a later chapter, but it kind of talks about the idea of seeing marriage and love as this thing that has to constantly be passionate and constantly like on fire, and being averse to the idea of like settling into like a strong friendship with your wife and husband, right? How that actually helps like maintain this inequality, right? And I'm like, I can name you 10 people right now that believe that's how it should be, that have that conception of love, right? And so it's like, it's very clear that while we're educated to see them as equal, that there are these like more subtle ideas we have in our head that don't seem like they would cause inequality at first. But in this book, she kind of exposes how they could cause that. Makes a
Yeah,
lot more sense to me now. That makes sense.
yeah, yeah, and it is like it's tradition. You know, we kind of went over traditions and you know the last podcast, but I think we all settled on the idea that traditions are, you know, there's some good traditions, some bad traditions, right? And when I think of traditions, I think of stuff like this, where it's like, well, this is how they did it 100 years ago, so this is how we're going to do it now. And in my mind, that's what made traditions bad, you know?
Can't give a tradition just
Because,
for the sake of it being a tradition.
yeah, like that's not how it should be. And it goes into the whole point of this book, where it's just like, well, that doesn't make sense because 100 years ago, we didn't have anything that we have today, you know? Or not anything, but like half of the shit that we have today. You know what I mean? Like just how far technology's progressed, how far society's progressed in the last 100 years. Why do we need to hold on to this remnant of a bygone past of gender inequality when it has no fucking place. It doesn't help anyone.
Yeah.
True. It only hurts society. But
Yeah.
I'll move on. I gotta bring it back to the book. I gotta keep us moving.
Sorry.
Um,
Hey, this is the book, man.
no,
This
it's
is the
all good.
book.
Yeah.
It
No,
is,
I
but
know.
that we cover some bigger topics. I'd love to dive
Mhm.
in.
Yeah. So I'm gonna skip the rest of the introduction. It has points in it I kind of like, but and we'll talk to it about it. And in chapter one, um, for me, at least at the beginning of chapter one, I saw a lot of a sense of I guess kind of like what we hit on before, monarchy and royalty and things of that nature, and how it's just they kind of like, in a sense, because you're in royalty, or because someone may be in royalty, it almost gives you a reason to want to make those below you weaker, uh like the people weaker, so it can stay in power over them. um and so, like, one idea that she mentions here, I'll just touch on real quick, that I think is prevalent throughout this book, is especially when she talks about Rousseau, who she talks about a lot, is the idea of men trying to use reason to justify their prejudices,
Mhm.
um, which I think is really only a um, I can't think of the right word, but is really only an opportunity for those in a somewhat position of power. Um, the the other issue too that she mentions is that when you bring about a call for equality, it makes whoever's in charge, like the church or the state, for example, or the example she brings up, feel in danger, which is might be one of the reasons as well, as why, you know, even though, like, people, like, there's some people who might use reason to say, hey, like, this isn't right. It just kind of goes back to that power aspect a little bit, where those in power feel threatened, and so they try to do whatever they can to keep those beneath them uh, weak, in a sense.
Yeah. Like,
So yeah,
I think some quotes to back you up. I'm skipping around in this paragraph, but she says men in general seem to employ their reason to justify prejudices rather than to root them out. Yet the imperfect conclusions thus drawn are frequently very plausible because they are built on partial experience, on just though narrow views. And later she says, when talking about, you know, the royalty and the wealthy. Such indeed has been the wretchedness that has flowed from hereditary honors, riches, and monarchy, that men of lively sensibility have almost uttered blasphemy in order to justify the dispensations of providence. Essentially saying that the people in power have almost, you know, have come up with some crazy reasonings to justify why they are rich and you are not.
Feel like
Right?
nothing's changed in that regard.
Yeah, that's yeah, just the new aristocracy. But I think uh I think that was pretty interesting, and like you said, runs parallel a lot to a lot of stuff we see today.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
Even though we're well beyond monarchy.
and well, that's the other thing too, as you mentioned. Like she kind of takes away from monarchy at one point and starts talking about profession, like a job, and how
Mhm.
that affects the character and the history of power. Because it's like she mentions the example of the priest and the, what was it, the curate, and or bishop
Mhm.
and curate, and how the curate is an assistant to this bishop. And if the curate is always just kind of following his lead, just listening to him, the bishop looks at this curate as like someone who, is weaker than himself, then it's always going to taint the people themselves and the relationship.
Mhm.
Um, and because of their profession, it now has an effect on who they are and on their character, which then, I mean, she relates everything back to women, right? So then it relates back to how the idea of men, who in this sense the power, the royalty, um, and the women in this sense that the curate, the one who's just assisting the men. The men, this for make the woman feel weaker. And this is like one of our big arguments right here. Is like how they make the women feel weaker. And as a result, the women now think themselves weaker. And it goes into a spiral of like tyranny in her case, of women just constantly thinking themselves weak. And so she brings up the idea of you need to, one, because she mentions this, she sees women like kind of just fall into it, be like, oh yeah, and like that's this kind of talked about later too. We're like, oh yeah, I am weak, or I am weak. I do need the help of men and stuff like that. She's like begging them to come out of that like thought process. Uh, but anyways,
Grab those masculine virtues,
yeah.
apply
Yeah.
them.
But I think we can talk about more of that later. I think the main idea of this chapter is the idea of power, and how one, it can corrupt someone, like someone who's weak in themselves, to lead people to more weakness, and the
Mhm.
importance of, if you have power, to, I guess, teach in a sense, because that's the other thing back with the bishop, right? Is that if you just teach them to, and it's like builds up her whole argument for education there. You just teach your curate nothing and make them continue to depend on you, then they're going to be like that. Like it's not really their fault. It takes more strength and power and will to try to get out of that. So I mean, I guess bring that on to y'all. Like, is that something that we still see now? I mean, is it like, do you think it is like the most, like the major effect of why people stay in a state of weakness?
I
Famous
definitely think,
textbook, Ben then Finance, Blue Eyes, but it definitely still exists. Like
yeah,
they
I was gonna
literally made
say,
a song about it.
hmm well, I don't know. I didn't know they made a song about that. Like, I was gonna say, I feel as though it could have. No, it'd be the same thing as beforehand. It's still talking about. 'Cause I was gonna say maybe it could also apply to not only it's now in multiple sectors of women's rights and how it may affect the way that they view themselves, but it's also in a factor of kind of the rich versus the common. But I think you could say in a monarch, it's kind of the same situation. It's still pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think uh just to add to your point, Howie, I think um not only does like people in a position of weakness like beget weakness, right? But then she goes further to say that when you have a bunch of women who just depend on men and depend on their adoration, right? Because all they're looking for is marriage. It's like you teach these women that they are weak and that the only way that they can move up in the world is through marriage, which, oh man,
Yeah, I know she talks about it later too.
she had a good quote about that. Oh yes, she says, strength of the body and mind are sacrificed to libertine notions of beauty, to the desire of establishing themselves, the only way women can rise in the world, by marriage, and this desire making mere animals of them. Saying how they're getting rid of like making their mind stronger and making their body stronger because they've been taught that the only way to move up in society is to be loved and adored by a rich man. Um, and so not only does that like weaken them, it makes it to where they don't have like a strong like moral character, a strong mind to like help raise their children. And in fact, they're likely to raise
Mhm.
their children with the same ideas that got them to where they are. Right.
I
Um,
like when she mentions the false strength of beauty and elegance.
Hmm.
mhm.
Well, dude, that point is such a good one of like just the idea of, you might be able to get power, through this way. Like she mostly names it cunning, but is it like you're giving up so much of like yourself
Mhm.
and you're almost degrading yourself, your character, as a result? And I thought that idea was really interesting, actually. Um,
Yeah. Well, she says an air of fashion, which is but a badge of slavery, and proves that the soul has not a strong individual character, awes simple country people into the imitation of vices when they cannot catch the slippery graces of politeness. Which is
bar.
that's a totally
That
different
was a
topic that
bar.
she this whole totally different topic where she talks about like the way rich people impress their horrible ideas on poor or middle class people. But at
Yeah.
the core, she goes like if all you care about is the clothes you wear, it just proves that your soul has no character. There's no individual
It's
flair.
superficial.
Yeah.
And I'll use a modern day example that'll kind of tie a lot of this together. Okay. And, instead of like, well, still the clothes we wear, everybody's like, yeah, look at my new Gucci drip.
Gucci.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But nowadays, the, the, the vice or the vanity is your presence. Like how,
Your
are you
aura.
viewed? Your,
Mhm.
yeah, your
Follower
aura.
count, your followers, how many people you
Followers,
got?
yeah. So like your presence, like how many people are, yeah, like your followers, that kind of stuff, and how much of an individual are you on TikTok or Instagram or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and great example of someone like this, and someone who's kind of like the priest and the comparison with, or the bishop, sorry, the bishop in that comparison is who's in a position of power and has the ability to teach good morals and a good lesson, but instead preaches something to keep his weak, arguably because they're weak minded, because they're young and they're still developing and all this other stuff, audience, the wrong ideas, is Andrew Tate. Um,
Oh, yeah.
so think of him as like the priest in this situation, right? And it'll kind of click. But basically, he has the opportunity to his all of these young kids look up to him because he's a he's a manly man and he's a fighter and
Used
all this
to.
bull crap.
I don't think they look up to him after the what he got arrested in. I saw a lot of people clowning on him, saying you could find this at a women's store.
Oh no shit.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I'm like, the last time I was on like the internet and actually followed shit was like prior to 2020. So I don't know what's going on anymore.
He got arrested, and his outfit was, for lack of a better term, a very fruity outfit that people said you could literally find at a women's store for about $25.
Damn.
Awesome.
Well,
Well,
I saw that on
Not to
LinkedIn,
beleaguer
bro.
your point.
Like it's crazy.
yeah.
Like,
But
Yeah,
well,
just
but he did have a big effect on like a lot of people, I guess, and his
that's
in his
Yeah,
no
he
for
did.
sure. That is for sure.
Yeah.
but he had the opportunity to preach good morals, and like he knew that his audience was 100% men, if we're being honest, and or really kids, like boys, right, that were like
Yeah.
yeah.
growing up and like, I want to be like him, or something like that, and that has led to
My
a
Bugatti.
very big issue in our society because there are some kids that still believe in that bullshit,
Yeah.
and they don't know any better because they were just following the priest, following the
I
bishop.
thought, and I TikTok. You can't take too much, but TikTok is a good way to maybe find out about other people's personal lives. But I did see that a lot of teachers, when Andrew Tate was big, getting a lot of popularity, a lot of teachers saw his effect on people in the classroom and how it caused some boys to interact with the girls in their class. And it wasn't good. It was extremely disrespectful, and in Andrew Tate way, obviously.
The worst part
Teachers
is
really
that
are
I'm
on
pretty
like,
sure that a lot of his stuff was just persona. So
yeah,
like he was
it
literally
wasn't
choosing to
even him.
personify that kind of character
Yeah.
for
Just like we
for
said,
the
it's
clicks though.
superficial.
For the clicks though,
Yeah.
like it was for the click. There's no other reason, and just he wanted to get the attention. Um,
Mhm.
which says something about incentives, which incentive is a whole nother topic. But
Yeah.
My favorite topic.
yeah, I know I like that topic too. But okay, because I think next up she kind of starts talking about education, So, but before that, I kind of just hinted at it, but like, so you have these people in power who are kind of controlling what people are learning and being taught, right? And as a result, it keeps them weak. She mentions how some or most royalty ends up getting corrupted to keep people still weak. Okay. Um, one, okay, this is more of a personal opinion. I kind of think that having a few people in power is actually better, Loki, because but the thing is though, and she's right about it, it's like a lot of people end up getting corrupted to keep people weak. Um, but if you get the right people, I think it would turn out even better in a sense, than like what you could have otherwise. But I guess one, that's just my own personal opinion. Do you guys think the same thing about that? And two, as like a follow up, if things do go bad. How do you come out of that? And like, I mean, you could say revolution. I mean, that obviously has
I
happened. But like, I'm just
I
curious to hear y'all's thoughts.
want to say I actually completely disagree with you in that point, and I think a big reason why I'm just gonna give it to you straight. A big reason why I disagree with you is because specifically I have definitely gotten the viewpoints of, and I think I've mentioned before, our boy Mr. Beat. And he is
Mr.
on right
B.
now. Yeah, he's on a mission to increase the amount of people in Congress because I think we're at
Oh my
453 as
gosh.
representation. He
Yeah.
says it's too little and that it's actually
I
a
was
huge
just thinking about
disservice.
that.
That's kind of
But
why I'm in a disagreement with you, saying the small amount of people is better to run a whole because that's if we get the right people. But that's just if we live in a perfect world. And we definitely do not. We
I,
definitely do not. And it's unfortunate.
yeah, I was thinking about it because I was like, when the Constitution was drafted, they picked what they thought was an insanely large group of people to run their democracy, right? To be representative. Like when it was created, the 100 senators, like that was a decent percentage of the population, you know. But now 100 senators to represent millions of people, like their idea was like, oh, you couldn't possibly corrupt 100 people. And now it's like that's so
That's
easy. Like
easy. That's
100
rookie
people,
numbers.
that's easy,
Yeah,
dude.
I
We
think
do
you
like
got
thousands a day.
update that stuff with the times. I feel like for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And
yeah.
you can even look at like historical precedent, right? Um, I kind of understand where you're coming from, Howie, because like you look at they say a dictatorship is only bad if the dictator's bad because that
Yeah.
person wields absolute power. If he's good at what he does, if he's good at leading, like Napoleon, for example, he was a great
Mhm.
leader. Not only could he fight, he could also fucking lead, dude. He did some good
Yeah.
shit for the government,
Napoleon's always
Or
the
like
the example I
Singapore.
think of.
Yeah. Well, you can even look at like
Singapore is a
Rome,
great
like
example.
I
yeah,
want to
yeah,
throw out a very recent example, and it's Bukele from Salvador. I want to know.
Ooh,
I would like to know your thoughts. 'Cause, there
I
have been
don't
those thoughts of don't know
I'm
too
not
much about
locked
it
in
right
on
now.
the
I don't know much
So
about
Salvadorian
it.
politics.
here's the
Now I'm
thing.
gonna have to look into it.
I can't really have too much of an opinion on it because like obviously I'm not living it, but it's like
Mhm.
basically
If you want a quick rundown, he is a very aggressive leader in the sense that it's like people have said that the huge mega prison that he made is obviously ran extremely horribly for the
Oh
prisoners.
yeah.
And it's kind of a big argument that against him, which I mean, kind of based on what they did, it's kind of iffy, but
Yeah.
uh,
But isn't
it
the
is
other side of it like the crime's done now? Like it's
yeah.
yeah.
better.
So here's the thing is that's great, like he I understand it because he came into a situation where like really really bad crime rates, like really really
Murder
bad
capital of
societal
the world,
stuff.
something like that.
Yeah, like you got to do something, right? And his solution worked. The only issue is,
What comes after?
you shoot a machine gun into a crowd that has bad people in it, and you take out the whole crowd. Yeah, you got the bad people, but there's
Yeah.
also a lot of innocent people that you took out with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big issues I have with it. It's like just basically locking up anyone that has tattoos. Like, well, shit, I just really like tattoos, and now I'm in prison
Yeah.
with a bunch of hardened criminals.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's I think it's a little bit more specific to that because
Yeah, it is.
See, one thing that my mother told me, because obviously my parents are from there, so they're a little bit more in the politics of it. But one thing that kind of struck me as a little odd, but when she explained to me, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But they now have cops at the schools because they want to apply specific, or they want everyone to have a specific uniform, and boys can't have a certain length hair, and they have to, they get all their phones need to be checked all the time in case, like, not all the time, but they can check their phones pretty much the entire thing to see if they're having any sort of, conversations and forming little groups in these schools uh, that inevitably or maybe and eventually could become gangs. So it's like when you hear that, to me, when I first heard it, it was like that's a little weird. It's a little daunting. That's a little
A little
scary. That feels like it's a
authoritarian.
really fine. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
really fine line. But then she explained to me it was because that is kind of how the group of gangs formed. Was they started to have little small tells.
Yeah.
They would wear their hair a certain way. They would have specific shoes that only gang members would wear, and that's how you would tell them. And that's how you can create a small community in the schools. And then when they get out of the schools, it becomes a bigger thing, and then it starts to re- revamp all
Yeah.
over again. But it's like it's kind of going back to the whole dictator vibe. It's very the way I always thought about it. Yeah, the country is so clean. It's such a fine line. It's so scary the where it could possibly end up, and it's just a little worrisome.
That's this really hard part about government is like you can give a lot, and then it's just like it's kind of like a really fucked up relationship. You can give a lot and get walked all over, or you can, you know, be really aggressive and then not get walked over. So it's what's
Yeah.
best.
Which actually brings us all the way back to the book, Connor. I'm glad you said that. Because like in this book, Wollstonecraft asserts that there's like two responses to this inequality. You either do what we talked about before, you just let it happen, you believe yourself as weak, you just constantly look for like the love and affection from that man, or you become cunning, you get a little sly, you start playing tricks to get the upper hand, because that's the only way to get the upper hand against somebody who has such an unfair advantage, is to be smart about it, right? um so it's interesting that it's like the two outcomes are either we have totally diminished this half of society, or we've turned them against us. Like neither outcome is good for us all.
Do you think, I mean, obviously one doesn't, but do you think the other one like invokes the change that she's wanting though?
The cunning change.
Yeah. Like, is it invoke the change of like education, the way they look at women, the way they um
Maybe the way
bring
women
up
would raise their
women, you
kids.
know?
Yeah,
Do you think that cunning
Reason.
changes that whole aspect?
in a positive aspect, like to lead the society
Yeah.
more towards how we'll.
Yeah, because it seemed to me
Oh,
cunning was more of like you're still kind of going into from her perspective was you're still kind of like going into the weakness idea, but you're
Mhm.
trying to secretly reverse it to where you're the one in power and controlling the person. Um, but not so much as an equal ship, which is another thing I kind of wanted to talk about, but I don't know if it's in the scope. Was like it seems to me she's also very along the points of like equality,
Yes.
and I know we've had discussions on equality before, and to me, this
Mm.
seems like almost a different kind of equality than what we've discussed before. And I think there is a
Yeah.
slight subtle difference, um, which I
I
think
think
she
I have the
lays out
line.
perfectly, low key. But like, what do you guys think about? We don't have to talk about, it, but like, I just want to bring it up.
I think, well, I thought it was kind of an important idea, because it's not even like equality in a weird way. It's almost more cooperation, right? Uh, because at the end of her introduction, uh, she says, Many individuals have more sense than their male relatives, and as nothing preponderates where there is a constant struggle for an equilibrium, without it has naturally more gravity. Some women govern their husbands without degrading themselves because intellect will always govern. It's like, it felt like it was this idea that it's like not necessarily saying that, that we have to be on equal standing to like make progress, but that we actually live in an environment where we're not working together, and since we're not working together, the we're not giving an opportunity for the intellectual people to flourish. We're not giving them the chance. She compares this many times in the book to like somebody being sent to the military,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where instead of giving the opportunity to be independent and to gain their own experiences and flourish as a human being and potentially do something great, they're instead like put in this subservient role where in order to thrive, they have to just obey the orders of the people above them, right?
Imagine having
Um,
the same ideas as a woman and then hating a woman at Nietzsche.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, see the way this is what I was kind is kind of how I look at is it's not equality in a sense of oh we bring these people lower to meet like we 1984 was the book. I can't remember the exact book, but we bring the people with special or unique traits. Like we basically hinder them,
Mhm,
so that way they're equal as everyone else.
mhm,
I look at what she's saying as, and like how Screwtape Blair is prescribed, of like
mhm.
we gotta bring these people down morally, and Nietzsche said we gotta bring these people down morally. But like for her, I look at equality as an equal opportunity, which is what
Yeah.
ties into her idea of education. Is like we're not giving women, which is like her huge argument, we're not giving women who she respites that or gives up that men are physically stronger because of the body differences. But which okay isn't even true in all cases, but um that especially nowadays, but that like it's a mental thing. It's a thing of virtues. The ability to come up with virtues, the ability to reason, the ability to gain
Mhm.
knowledge, a mental aspect is that the way it's set up right now is to keep that down on women, to make them, as we've already discussed, it just kind of keep them feeling weak and not thoughtful and like reliant. So she's looking for and she's saying it's based off on education and upbringing. So she's looking for an education system which sees women the way they should be seen, which is the same as men, in the process of thought and reason, which then comes into the form of education. So basically give women the same equal opportunity for education. Um, and so, I mean, I don't even know there's like much to talk about there other than just like the fact, like, I mean, yeah, I mean, it should be like that.
I want to just throw. I do really find it so interesting how this whole idea of equality, the way that she is talking about it, feels so in line with because we've had this conversation about the whole having everybody is equal with the which book was it from Nietzsche? Was it? It
It
wasn't
was Twilight of
Zarathustra. It
the
was
Idols. He talked
yeah.
about it a lot more.
Yeah. I just so many correlations that so
Yeah,
I,
it's weird. It feels like they're touching on the same truth, but from a totally different like lens. You know.
mm-hmm. Them from their
Um,
own perspectives.
do so like one of the things about in here about the education too is like oh women are taught to manners and to be proper and to be gentle, affectionate and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like that was their education, right? Um and that's not so much of a schooling education as more of a I guess a life education in a sense. Or maybe I think it
Mhm.
actually probably was their schooling at one point, actually, that kind of stuff. Um do you guys still think that's how it is now? I mean, I know we have everyone going to the same public schools, which, Seth, by the way, I kind of disagree with what you said earlier about everyone's going to the same public school because public schools are different based off where you live. all this
Well,
thing
yeah, but it's
stuff.
not based on your
But
gender anymore.
yeah, that's what I was
It's
gonna say.
based
Is
on
that
your
it's not based on your
location.
gender
Yeah.
anymore. So like, is this idea of education she's talking about still like a preeminent issue? I kind of don't think so, but I do think it is in the sense of parents teaching their daughters a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd agree to
I
that.
still
And kind of for education too, because bear with me here. Maybe not so much the education itself, but the results of the education, right? Because now they're not telling you, oh, you're a woman, you can't be a doctor. They're saying, oh, yeah, you can become a doctor, but then you get into the field and you do all of these years of studying, and then it's like, oh, but here's something we didn't tell you. You're actually going to get paid 70% of what your male coworkers are going to get paid.
yeah.
So it's like the incentives go down. And that's the big thing is it's like, okay, well, I can be a doctor and yeah, that might be my passion, but I'm going to get paid less doing this. Maybe a doctor's not a good example. You're going to make a shit ton of money, but you see what I'm saying,
Yeah, I'd
right?
love to make
Yeah,
70% of what a doctor
I
makes.
know,
Yeah,
right?
honestly, I'll take
I was
it.
gonna ask because I have heard a lot of arguments about the wage gap. Is that like for real? For real?
So it's
Because
That's
I
kind of
know
what
there's
I've
the
been
whole.
wanting to do. Because isn't there like an equal opportunity thing where like everyone's supposed to be like doing the
Yeah,
same
I mean in
stuff?
the sense because
Is it
I
like not?
remember
What
Isn't
an
there
in
supposed to be
awesome
non
way to
prejudice
ask
to?
that question.
yeah I feel like I botched that question
Do I need
because
to break out Google Man?
I get what you're
well
saying. I get what you're asking, because I've
this
also
is
been
why I'm
kind of
asking.
confused.
This is why I'm asking is because from what I have heard and yeah from what I've heard is it comes that inequality comes more down to the positions of jobs and where the different genders tend to go into their work field, what work field they decide to go into, and it's disproportionate based on the gender. More. I think women are more likely to go into healthcare, um, things like hospice or nurse or something like that, and then you have males who are going to be more tradesmen, plumbers.
Right.
if that were the case though, the wage gap would be the other way around.
But
Well,
yeah.
that just those are examples. There's a lot of different industries and a lot of different
Yeah.
those are just like two prime examples.
You want Google Man's answer to your question about
Yeah,
from current
yeah, yeah,
studies?
yeah. From current studies.
Uh, Current studies say that yes, the majority of the substantial pay gap is caused by differences in like the fields that people choose, um, but that if you still control for education access in the fields, so you like pretty much find a woman who is given the same opportunities and is in the same like career choice as a man, same role, everything, there's still a gap. It's a lot smaller.
Hmm.
It's not like the overall gap is like 80%
Okay,
versus
so that's
but it still exists.
yeah. I wanted to touch on that specifically because this is kind of why I brought the conversation up because I think you think that in turn is kind of because of that initial prejudice of this weird thing that we've been taught that women are weaker. So then people are gonna feel a little bit easier to say, no, I'll pay you this much instead of this much. Especially if it's like a male boss. He would say he probably would they be more comfortable being a little bit more assertive with a woman than being assertive with a male.
Hmm.
I'm assuming that's kind of the main. That's probably where the wage gap kind of comes into play.
I see what you're saying.
That's
I
one
don't know
of
if I explained it.
the parts to it. There's also like they usually have to take longer like leave when they have children, because they like become pregnant. It's something
Can't
we
believe I
don't have to
completely
deal
forgot
with.
about that part. This
Oh,
just it goes to show how much we
David
don't
doesn't have
deal
to
with
think
Well,
that.
about that stuff.
and that's not even fair though. Like what if you're a woman and you go into a job and you're like, "Oh, actually I can't have kids. So, do you want to pay me that extra 20%?" I'm not ever going to take it. So, why not pay me more? Pay me the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different factors that, and now we're going more into an economic discussion than a philosophical one. But for the purposes of the philosophical discussion,
Well,
the
I want
gap
to.
is
I
real and
think
it still
the
exists.
philosophical aspect is what I said earlier about that pre-notion of, because how she's describing it in here. She talks about women are, kind of told to be a little bit more feminine. So in a weird way, that kind of alludes more to weakness. The
Yeah,
elegance, you lose that those masculine, how she described it, and because of that prejudice that not only women are a part of, but also men are in that prejudice, as in, oh, women are weaker now. That idea leads to, that subconscious idea leads to a more weird mindset of, or weird feeling mindset, whatever, however you want to describe it, of, again, a male being more okay with being more assertive with a woman, in the sense of saying, okay, I'm not going to give you this raise. Like, no.
yeah,
I totally see where you're coming from. It's like a subconscious thing that's gone on from way back, been planted from way back. Um, which I mean, I mean, that's the thing too, is like there's still this level of like, you know, bringing them down, bringing women down, that's out there. It might not be as obvious or prominent as today, but I think it's still definitely out. I mean, wage gap is a great example because, like, theoretically, if someone does the same job, like has the same amount of skill, why would they not be getting paid the same? That's what she like basically is begging
Mm.
in this book. Like, if you like think of anything with like actual reason, you'll see that what's going on is like unlogical, illogical. Um, but the thing is too, though, is like the issue is that there's a lot of people who still think like that, and like, how can you truly persuade all those people? I feel like it's something that just kind of,
Gotta wait for them to die out.
yeah, it just I was gonna say that kind of just like changes over time with like how
yeah.
people. I think it
But
goes back. What are you gonna say, Seth?
I was gonna say it's not just they have to die out. You also have to continually
Mm.
educate.
That's what I was gonna
You have
Hmm.
say.
to get the right idea constantly out there so that it will eventually fade away.
It goes back to raising I think parents raising their children. And I don't know. Obviously, I haven't had these experiences because I'm not a girl, I'm not a woman. So I don't know how like much that still happens nowadays, where like parents are raising their daughters in a much different sense with kind of the same tendencies that she talks about nowadays. Like I don't think any of us can really talk about it, which is what kind of sucks. So I
Well, we
don't
need
know
an
if that's
Anna
like
here,
still
Yeah,
going
bro.
on.
I know. I can talk about like I can talk about the experiences I have in sharing a mother with my sister
Same.
and having met my
Oh,
girlfriend's mother
Yeah, because I
and
don't have
spending a lot
a
of time with her.
sister either. So
yeah, same. I'm only brothers in my family.
Yeah, so I think like I don't think that all women are teaching those like traditional values. Like uh I know that Anna's mother specifically was like she's still working right now. Like she's an engineer. So like it was obviously like a really big deal in their house for Anna to go pursue, a similar profession, right? There wasn't a I can't speak to like, the entirety of her childhood, but there's definitely people who are like leaning more towards like encouraging women to become educated and to like, you know, move past this like world of weakness where you're only, you know, living your life in subservience to men, right? But I definitely think like depending on where you live, right? Those ideas might still have a stronger hold than they do in other areas. So I think that it's something that's like changing, but we're not all the way there,
If we were
you
the
know.
whole trad wife thing, would it be a whole huge
That's
thing in
what
the
I'm saying. Is
internet?
like the trad wife
what's
thing, the
that?
song I was singing that none of you guys know. You don't know about trad wives?
I'm not on like any
Wow.
kind of like
I feel like David and I are
social
bringing the
pop culture
pop
thing.
culture, which is not a good place to
No,
be
dude,
with
it's
us
true.
two.
So genuine. That's probably that's bad.
I actually deleted YouTube and LinkedIn this past weekend because I'm like, dude, I'm like scrolling too much. I gotta stop that stuff.
Is
Damn,
Um,
LinkedIn got that bad too.
yeah.
is
Yeah.
tradwife
Well,
like short for like trade wife, like a
Like
tradeswoman?
traditional. No, like a traditional.
traditional.
Hmm.
Oh,
So like there's a
Oh,
TikTok movement glamorizing the idea of being a stay-at-home mom whose job is to cook and clean and have children.
Yeah,
I have a
even
question.
then,
Are men or like women posting this?
women.
Women.
See, and that was the issue she also had in here, where she's like, I can't like women are like falling into this idea of like wanting to be weak, and like there's so many different aspects to it. Which okay, this is what I want. This is what I also want to talk about. Where like I do think that this thing out here, this one idea is still kind of prevalent today. Where like women love the idea of like attention, like get like she talks about, it's like get intoxicated on the like worship and attention of men, and so they play into this, oh, being childish, being weaker, focusing just on
Subservient.
beauty, yeah, subservient. And she's like, like this is like her whole thing too. Is like it's not just men who are the issue. It's like women themselves are doing it to themselves as well. And so she's like trying to like call them to be like, hey, you can't just fall into the um prejudice that they are putting on you. And
Yeah.
and
It's
it's
like
obviously
a
still happening right now, which
intern
is
in like internalized misogyny,
yeah.
right? That like idea of kind of subscribing to the belief that you are also inferior. I think
It
it's
really just feeds in on each other, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
Male.
the thing is like it's like yes, that's being perpetuated by women, but it's usually being perpetuated by women because
Mhm.
of the like system that men created and gave to them, right? You want to talk about incentives. Like
Fucking
part of this
God.
book is talking about how it's like, yeah, they're doing this, but that's exactly what any rational being would do given those circumstances, right? It's like, of course, there's this glamorization of that idea because it's a solution. It is a way to move up. It is a way to secure a safe future
Fortunately, it
for
is.
yourself, right? So it's like that won't stop happening until we've changed the system to not reward that behavior.
Well, I
Right?
kind of want. What are you gonna say, Connor? You got it.
well, I was just gonna say, like the whole idea of like the traditional marriage, right? Like the traditional wife isn't necessarily like a bad thing. If somebody wants that to be their life, then that's what they want to be their life. If they truly believe that's what they want to do with their life, that's fine. But that doesn't mean you should take advantage of it as like the partner in that relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
just because you're working and she stays at home doesn't mean she should do all of the cleaning. It shouldn't be like, all right, I'm done with dinner, clean up. All right, you're cooked, right? I'm hungry. Give me food. Make me a
Yeah.
sandwich. It's like me personally, right? If I had like a traditional marriage, I come home from work. I'm not making my wife wash my fucking socks. I know how my feet smell whenever I get back from work. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think anybody should have to clean that but me. That's my feet sweat. Okay.
Yeah.
Same thing with my dishes. I can clean my own dishes. I can do my own
Yeah.
laundry. I can make the bed every other day. You can make it every other day too. You know, I hate making my bed, but that's just what life
Looks great
is,
right
you
now,
know?
Connor.
Yeah. Snap
Past Connor did a great
a
job on that bed. Let me tell you.
Dude, wait, yeah, snap a picture of your background and just have it like green screen on it.
Honestly,
It'll always look that neat.
that's such a good idea.
oh,
But you see my point,
Yeah.
right? It's like
Yeah.
yeah.
it doesn't need to be that
I
way.
mean, I think part of it
I
too
mean,
is she's also saying like when it gets to that point of like what you're talking like the traditional lifestyle, I kind of agree with you. Like it can be okay, but what she's kind of seeing it as like back in her time is that this means that the woman of question is completely subservient, completely listening, doing whatever the man says, and just living for him pretty much, and not even like being able to think on her own or have any reason or virtues or thinking on her own, which I think it is possible to have a traditional lifestyle while not having those other negative things. So I kind of agree with
Yeah,
you, Connor.
I wanted
I
to say
think
something about this traditional lifestyle, and I wanted to say it specifically that in a weird way, I feel as though it's more okay nowadays than it was back then, because back then it was kind of the only option. Whereas in nowadays, like y'all are saying, there are other options. There is an option to, not do that, but that also leaves the option to do it. And some people who really do believe in that lifestyle, hey, who
yeah,
am I? Who am I to say my morals are better than yours? Because I'm nobody.
and I like your point too, Howie. Is I think the reason, going back to reason, the reason for the the traditional lifestyle is the important thing. And like you said, David, it's because they had no option. Now, like with me, I think a traditional lifestyle for me would be great, but that's only if my wife would want that lifestyle. I'm not gonna say, hey, I want you to be what was the term you guys used?
Brad wife.
Trad wife.
Brad
I want
wife.
you to be a trad wife, Like I'm just gonna like I just want to be able to provide that outlet if she wants it, so that she doesn't have to work at a job for 80% of the pay of her coworkers. Like she can actually pursue what she wants to do. I'll just be the foundation.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Bold
Or
of you
she
to
or she
assume
could be
that
the
you're the
foundation.
foundation.
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
no, hey,
Connor.
listen. If I marry a woman and she's making $200,000 a year, I might want to be a trad husband or a
Yeah. Trad
non-trad husband,
Trad,
Oh,
trad
wait, no, I
husband.
guess you're right. An anti-trad
Yeah,
husband.
anti-trad,
anti-trad.
anti-trad,
A
Um,
stay-at-home zaddy.
stay at home,
okay. Well,
anti-trad.
I kind of want to talk about the idea of like the system because I don't think you necessarily can wait for the system to change. In some cases,
Unfortunately, yeah.
and I think that and this isn't just for women. I think we can kind of also generalize it to really just you working against a system not in your favor, trying to keep you down. I mean, I think if you just wait for it to change and not do anything at all, then the people in power have no real incentive to change it, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so like for her, she's kind of saying like, okay, well, you have to kind of not just play along with this mold that they're putting on you. Um, Try to gain wisdom. Like, I mean, her, like, which, like, she's obviously not played along with, what's been put on all the women back then. Um, so like, I think like, yes, you can, like, the system probably would, like, if there are people in power who have the ability to rationalize without emotion and passion, then I think there is opportunity for it to change. But I think you also have to like try to incur the change yourself as well. Um, I just wanted to mention that because I think it kind of is a little bit on both sides.
Yeah.
And if the
I
one,
agree.
Today's
and if
days.
people in power don't yield at all, I mean, then you have like the French revolutions, right? In my opinion, I think that's just kind of what happens.
I
Um,
think I could
Yeah.
vouch for
Ideally,
how
you
that
have the
example.
French revolutions.
Bring back the
Yeah.
guillotine.
Bring
Oh,
back.
actually, real fast on pop culture, I wanted to say some AI CEO ran out of a small town because they were protesting the building of a data center and somebody was riding around with a guillotine. He said they had a fucking guillotine. I ran out of there as soon as I saw it.
that's for him.
Dude,
Um,
And
this is
let's just go back to what Howie was saying.
Yeah.
You need to invoke that
Well,
change.
I'm sorry,
I have
this is
something
getting
from the
so off
book.
topic. I have something real quick to say. The
Okay.
last guillotine is a lot more recent than you think it is. Just look it up once we're done. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't even know if I
I'll
want
look
to
it up.
know.
I do want to know.
Um,
Yeah.
but in the vein of what you said, Howie, with like not waiting and like what can we do about it, right? She says women ought to endeavor to purify their hearts, but can they do so when their uncultivated understandings make them entirely dependent on their senses for employment and amusement, when no noble pursuit sets them above the little vanities of the day, or enables them to curb the wild emotions that agitate a reed over which every passing breeze has power? To gain the affections of a virtuous man is affectation necessary. Pretty much, it felt like kind of a call to action to being like, if like, again, if you weren't rewarded by like falling to this weaker state to like gain the affection of a man, if men were virtuous and actually sought out women who had like a developed mind and body, like women who wouldn't love them just as a passion or to seek their affection, but actually had a deep care, that like a friendship, you know, if that's what men were looking for, then it's likely that's what women would be. Like, we expect them to change and purify their hearts, but like, how can they when the vast majority of men are going to reward them for not doing that, right? So like, part of it is like, if you look at like, okay, what can I do to help? What you can do to help is like, you know, praising and rewarding those things you see, like when you see that in a woman. And like, it sounds like it, at this stage in our lives, it's like, okay, cool, so I'll just be like uplifting, right? But then what will really matter is when you're 45 and you have to pick who gets the promotion. When you're raising your children and you think about like how the woman you chose is like being a mother to them, right? The decisions seem kind of small now, but I think being in the right mindset will set you up to become that cultural change that changes the incentive and rewards, what we all want, which is for everyone to have equal opportunity to strive to be great and to push our society forward.
That's the other thing too, is like, if it's clear that, like a certain group of people, in this case women, are not giving a fair chance, a fair lot at it, it makes it hard for them to want to continue trying, which then as a result brings about like less growth to society, which we kind of already talked about. But
Hmm.
I kind of wanted to move on to the idea about love that she brings up, um, and friendship, and kind of like through respect, because like for a lot of this, we've kind of already mentioned like how women chase after a husband by focusing on their physical aspects, and their
Wait, women
gentleness and
chase, or do you
affection.
mean husbands chase women?
I kind of mean women chase. Is kind of what I
Okay,
got from it. Because
continue,
like
continue. I was just making
like
sure.
okay. Because like sure, men kind of chase, right? But like women are setting themselves up to be chased after. In a sense, that means that they're chasing. Um, so she talks about like, the physical aspect, like trying to do all this physical aspect, being childlike, gentle, affection, all this stuff. And how he kind of attacks it pretty strongly in a lot of ways. One is like, you know, well, if her whole goal is to focus on getting pleasure, then after a while, when the like feelings of passion kind of die out over time in a marriage, maybe she's going to start feeling like she needs to find pleasure elsewhere, perform adultery and stuff like that. Or even then, like if like a man like dies, and this is the later argument, but like if the husband dies, then she's just going to try to do whatever she can to find another husband or anything like that. And it sets a terrible example for her daughters, and also makes her see her daughters as rivals, which is a terrible aspect to have on with your children. Um, but she then turns it on like, it shouldn't be love. You shouldn't be trying to find love through just this physical aspect, and pure passion, but rather through like respect. And this is where the part of like cultivating your mind and virtue comes from. But rather cultivating respect, so that way as the infatuation dies down, it turns into a long-term friendship that holds the two together.
That's
There's
something
like,
that I've
yeah,
heard. Yeah, that's something
go
that
for
I've
it.
heard pretty. Not, I wouldn't say pretty often, but I've definitely it's an idea that for me also has really stuck with me because I mean I'm just gonna reiterate your point in just different words because at the end of the day, when you grow old and you prune up like a raisin, what else are you gonna have, man?
Mhm.
What are you gonna have after the physicality
Mhm.
goes away? That's
Yeah.
important. That's important to think about, and having them be your best friend is the best thing you can do.
Yeah. Because like it's like when you're, like you said, when you're old, when the beauty's gone, when your strength is gone, like when you're going through like the difficult parts of life, like passion, you know, quote unquote love isn't what's going to get you through that. You know, it's going to be having a friend that's there for you. And I think that's like kind of to go all the way back to what we were talking about at the beginning when I look at like ways that we currently embody these ideas that allow this inequality to continue perpetuating. I think that's a really strong marker of that is like the prevalent belief and search, subconscious or not, for you know, the movie theater, not movie theater, but the movie scene husband, you know. And it's like it seems small at first, but it goes both ways. Like it's not just that, you know, one side is wanting this and the other side isn't. It's like everybody thinks that's what they want. And so we continually set up the same relationships over and over again that are doomed to fail, you know.
That's an interesting point you bring up about media and how it affects like love and stuff like that. And also like the idea of like what a relationship should be. And also the idea of she also mentions, you know, not letting love overcome reason in a sense. And you know, I think those two aspects kind of go there in a sense of like you have the idealized love from like movies and that we see, and then she then turns it on like, you know, all still have your reason on top of love as well. So by attacking both of those, it kind of feels like a almost like an attack on love because it's like an attack on our idea of love and how, you know, maybe what we see in media isn't actually what we should strive for. And also like, you know, we shouldn't put love completely above reason. And I think that can feel a little harsh, but at the same time, I mean, I think throwing away reason completely for the idea of love, which it seems like she disagrees with, um, is almost a fault because I think it can kind of go into that direction of, you know, there not being friendship as time goes on. Um, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I think like some people might take that as like rule in a sense on the idea of love, but I don't know what y'all might think about that.
I mean, I think personally, uh, um, I agree with that stance that you shouldn't just throw away all of your reason for love. I mean, one example that I'm thinking about, I don't know if this is a good example, maybe it's a bad example, but it's like it's a big job opportunity for your partner. They can take it, but now you're gonna live freaking what 20 cities away, 20 states away. You don't want to do it because you love them and you don't want to leave them, right? Uh, Maybe you put some reason into it. Think about a timestamp, you know, and you can work through it. You can do stuff. You can actually, you gotta let go. If you love something, go, and then it'll come back to you if it was meant to be.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it's like I don't know if she's saying to completely get rid of like love as a concept,
Yeah, no,
but
I'm not
more to
saying that.
like be
Mhm.
to like be
Have
aware
them both.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, to be aware that like it's temporary. Not that love is temporary, but that like it will simmer down. I'll just use
I
her
think it's
words.
like, okay, yeah, go for it.
The words she says are why must the female mind be tainted by coquettish arts to gratify the sensualist and prevent love from subsiding into friendship or compassionate tenderness when there are not qualities on which friendship can be built? So it's like, I'm not saying that love will go away, but that like the strong
Like
everyday,
infatuation,
like,
kind of passion.
yeah, will eventually subside. And what you're left with is friendship and compassionate tenderness, which doesn't sound that bad. You know, that
You
sounds
give
nice
away,
Yeah,
and
I
you give
think,
for
away
a
the surprise,
lifetime.
the excitement for comfortability.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think she's saying to throw away love completely. I think she's saying to not throw away reason and
Mhm.
virtue completely.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say we need to be kind of specific on what she means by love because with everything else, with Nietzsche, fucking
Yeah.
what's love to her in this situation? Is love that
I,
I still love my
yeah.
friends, you know?
I think she specifically means like passionate love, like
Mhm.
when you think of
Like
like
like a
fiery
husband,
Like
romantic.
honeymoon.
marriage, wife type
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, like yeah, honeymoon.
Who do
Um,
you love more, your boys or that girl you hooked up with last week? You know?
Uh, I
I
see.
think this answer is a trap for anyone who has a partner currently.
No, no, no,
All
no.
of
This
No,
this is
I don't think that you
hypothetical.
didn't mean it with that intention. I know.
No, purely
I've
she
known
said I
Connor for
felt the
10 years.
same
I know
way.
exactly what he means.
I was like,
I
I'm
felt the
not,
same way
I'm
you
not
felt.
answering.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not answering that.
I
no,
like
no.
my lasting friendships, Connor. I'll say that much. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yeah,
someone that
yeah, I like my
I like
lasting
my
friendship.
friendships that last longer than a day. That's what I prefer.
I love
You
my
know.
wife probably like more than y'all. Like I'll be honest with y'all. I'm sorry, boys, but
That's fair. You know,
Wow,
I
I
hope
can't even hate.
so.
I can't even hate.
wow.
yeah.
I hope so.
Um. Okay. So that's kind of all I have for chapter 2. If anyone has anything else they want to discuss about chapter 2 before we move on to the
Um,
final chapter.
I I don't. This might spark another conversation. Maybe it won't. But I was curious on what do y'all think? How don't let me see. How am I going to word this question? Specifically focusing on this weakness of this false strength in beauty. I wanted to know what y'all think for that idea as it pertains in today's age with social media and everything. You know, you even fucking I'm gonna throw OnlyFans in there too. Kind of like the more extreme areas of that idea. I guess I just wanted opinions. Like, do y'all? I feel like this is just me comparing apples to oranges again. But how do y'all see it comparative to how it was when Mary wrote this book? Yeah, I want a first name basis with her.
I'll go way back.
We go way back, bro. 1792. That's my year.
Yeah,
Pulled,
it's
pulled you out of a burning trench back in the Battle of
Yeah,
Waterloo,
bro.
huh?
Yeah, she let me borrow $500, and let me tell you, $500 was not easy to come by that.
that. I'm sure it wasn't.
But my question persists. I don't know if y'all understood the question. I don't know if I explained
Can
it
you tell me one
well.
more time? Put your question one more time.
It's
Yeah,
how do
slight
y'all
paraphrase.
think this weakness of beauty compares from back then to now? Do
What do you mean weakness of beauty? Like how beauty invites weakness? Is that what you're kind of
how
trying to?
which she was referring to the false strength in beauty? I guess what I mean, not the weakness, the false strength in beauty, because
And
that's a
how it
big part that's
compares
been
to back
mentioned in here.
then?
Yeah, because my brain, it's a weird thing now because that is a very big. That's a very big thing in today's attention economy.
Yeah.
I was gonna
I
say that
think
I
it's
think
I think it's so
Hmm?
I think it's so big that it's like crossed the gender boundary. No, I
Yeah,
think that
Yeah,
we all
clavicular.
just want to be pretty.
I completely forgot about that. You're so right.
And
Uh,
how with the
I
pop
mean,
culture drop.
I think that is in
the only
itself
reason I
is the
know about it
answer
is
to
because
the
of y'all.
question.
So, um,
No, don't tell me that.
but
Don't
I mean,
tell
I
me
I
that.
think,
just painted
we
you.
kind of hinted on it earlier too. I think that's, if not more prevalent now. I think it's definitely still a thing. I think people still use beauty as a weapon, 100%.
Do
Um,
you think it's still
Mhm.
as much of a false strength as it was back then?
I mean, in a sense, in the sense that she's describing, right? Because like she says, like, oh, people use beauty to control the person that they're seducing, and I think that is still, and but like she doesn't like it because it's like it's almost degrading. Um, it shows nothing of your character or like who you truly are. It's not like in a sense true power. And not actually being you in a sense to gain this power. Um, I think that's still how it is today, if not more, because now people use beauty for all kinds of things, for likes on social media, um, even for whatever they used back then to get information,
Probably a
um,
way bigger
all
strength
kind of
nowadays than
stuff
it was back then, huh?
Well, you see, there's
Yeah.
no reason to it though. I mean, what value does beauty provide?
for sure.
What inherent value for humanity does beauty actually provide?
And I think that's the real
Like
issue,
it's
right?
just cherry on top stuff, right? It's like
Exactly.
Well, not even cherry on top. It's just
we're
like, what's the real reason for the importance of beauty?
Monkey brain,
I
our
mean,
human
yeah,
monkey brain.
but like that's emotional. That's not reasonable, which
Yeah,
is what she's
um,
trying to prescribe is reason.
it really is none, huh?
yeah. From a reason perspective, no. Like it's purely unreasonable, which is like why it's valued. I think deep down inside it's like uh like back in the day it was like, oh, you got to be beautiful because you were wealthy. Or if you weren't wealthy and you were beautiful, you became wealthy because that's just how it worked, right? It was you only get to do this because you have extra time and money. So I think on the grand scheme, because this is an idea that she touches on a little bit, is like, what's the difference between a human and a brute? What makes us mankind, right? And I think one of the things that makes us mankind is that we've figured it out so much that we can waste time on picking which uh, garment of cloth to don on our person, and still get food and still be the dominant species on the planet, like, so I think reasonably, no, it doesn't have any purpose, which is, I think, inherent to its value. I'm not saying that it should be valued like that. I think that's kind of why it's valued.
Yeah,
But
I don't think.
nowadays, it's like if you were poor back then, you weren't really thinking about being perceived by anybody but your fellow poors, you know. But nowadays, it's like you have to be concerned about being perceived by up to 1 million people at any given time, you know. Um,
See, isn't
so
that
this kind of answers
crazy
a
though?
lot of the things we kind of talked about. But what do you say,
I
Connor?
Isn't that crazy though? Like we can all sit here and right now we are saying beauty has no real purpose. And yet I still will get tattoos. I will still have my
Yeah,
piercings in. I will still trim my
they look
beard and cut
cool.
my hair because
Yep.
of some reason. And I even
Nah,
know
well,
hold
that's
on, nah,
different in my
bro.
opinion.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that is more,
Why
and
though?
this also ties into kind of clothes too, but it's an expression of yourself,
Yeah,
and
it's
I
an
think
expression.
that as a human, as us as people, that's a very important thing, especially because touches on this beforehand. Individuality nowadays is commodity, and everybody be their own person.
Okay, so it's cool to choose the garment of clothing because I like it. It's not cool to choose it because I think that other people will like it.
Yeah,
Yes,
and because you're trying to
exactly.
get like see, this is it's like a two-parter right here. Okay, we got two parts going on. We got the people who are looking at something because they're not reasoning about it, and like it's like like animalistic instincts are just like. ooh, I like looking at this. Okay. And you got the other people who are like attacking that instinct or desire and changing how they appear and whatnot based off it to take advantage of it. And I don't think that's very much different to what she's been talking about with women like affecting their own beauty and physical image to try to attract a husband and things of that nature. And so I guess in a sense, maybe it's not so much only focused on women to like such a extreme degree, you know, it's kind of been like I think it's in both aspects now, and not just in like physical appearance, but like clothing and whatnot. Um, but like I think that concept is still there, and it's still part of the both sides, right? And it takes both sides to flip it around to where it's no longer advantageous to strive for a physical aspect that people would enjoy and garner attention and likes on stuff, but like something that you yourself actually want, like the expression of yourself. And then people who have to stop like whatever, like yeah, having some kind of reason into it, like not just clicking on something just because of how it looks or something like that. um so I think it's kind of a two-parter in that aspect. Yeah.
As all things tend to be, unfortunately.
It
Yeah,
Which the world of black and
depends.
white.
Feedback loops. You guys should
it
ask Anna
is.
about feedback loops if you ever get the chance. All about that. Systems.
You say feedback loops, it just makes me think of what we've been describing. Eating it back
That's
and
yeah.
yeah.
It's like she was like, this can be used to describe so many sexual phenomena. It's like that's
Yeah.
awesome.
It really can, because that's
It can.
yeah.
I mean, that's like kind of that's kind of what good old Mary's covering here.
Mhm.
Miss Wollstonecraft.
Yeah.
I'll respect her. I'll give her Mrs. Wollstonecraft.
Mrs.
She's not married.
Yeah, what's that about?
I thought she was. I thought Connor was telling her that she
Wait,
was.
oh
No,
yeah.
Sure, she died married, so she'd be.
oh, she did.
She
Oh,
was
okay.
forcing the marriage because the man committed adultery and fucked her over.
I don't even know if they were married either. Like the first guy.
Google man. Matt,
Um,
like this is literally man moment looking up if this feminist literature artist was married. Like it matters.
No, that's so funny. You're so right.
Like it matters at all.
It matters
She was
because we
married
want
to
to
another
respect her.
philosopher. That's cool.
Married to
That's
Rousseau.
right.
They married later in
Oh God, I
life
hope not.
to
No,
legitimize
I'm
their
playing.
expected child, even though they both criticized the institution of marriage. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Interesting. And here I am
Um,
looking up if she's married. I bet she feels great about that.
that's what she lived for. That's what she wrote this book for, Seth.
Yeah.
Also, don't ever
Um,
Google me. Don't ever see if I was married. Just like at the end of the book.
she uses the
Yeah.
word
At
Google at the end of her
1792. Do not Google me.
book.
Everyone didn't know what that meant until like 20 years ago.
She was ahead of her time.
If there's
He
ever something like
was.
Wikipedia, do not use it. On me.
Do not use it.
Okay. Well, I kind of
One more
really,
thing?
really wanted to talk about one more thing in chapter 3 because like everything else we
Okay.
kind of already talked about.
It was kind of a
Okay.
continuation of chapter 2, wasn't it?
I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it's
mean,
literally
yeah.
titled. It's literally the name of the chapter is. Let's to let those who aren't reading the book in. Chapter 2 was called "The Prevailing Opinion of a Sexual Character Discussed," and chapter 3 was the same subject continued.
Yeah. I mean, she talks about basically, the woman will naturally go to whatever they're brought up in. That's the effect. I mean, really, anyone really. The negative impact of focusing on the body. But the one thing I kind of saw that was new was the idea of morality and God. Uh, that's That's my last talking point, though. I got so
Okay.
if
I would like to touch on this because I think that she touches on it in chapter 2 as well. And I was worried we weren't going to get to it, but now I get an excuse to talk about it.
let's do it.
So another thing for our listeners who might not know, Mary Wollstonecraft is a Protestant Christian. I looked this up. Philosophers talk about God all the time. Does not necessarily
Yeah.
mean they believe
Question.
at
True.
all. But she actually was a Protestant Christian, although she was very non-traditional in her beliefs. Surprise, surprise. 1792, Protestant Christian advocating for women's rights.
Hey, Nietzsche. Hey, he'd be having a field day. I think he'd be happy.
Mhm. Yep. But one of the things she talks about at the very beginning of chapter 2, I think this will lead into the general discussion of morality later, is this guy Rousseau and his idea of essentially like return to monkey. You know, he posits that like civilization is bad because it's like created by man, and like everything created by man is evil, and that we should go back to like
Tom
natural
doesn't like that
principles.
philosophy. See him shaking his
Yeah.
head.
And
Bruce is a
she
fucking moron, dude. I hate Bruce.
he says she says that he says, reared on a false hypothesis, his arguments in favor of a state of nature are plausible but unsound. I say unsound, for to assert that a state of nature is preferable to civilization in all its possible perfection is, in other words, to arraign supreme wisdom, and the paradoxical exclamation that God has made all things right, and that evil has been introduced by a creature whom he formed, knowing what he formed, is as unphilosophical as impious.
Fucking call him out.
Yeah. And then later she says, Rousseau exerts himself to prove that all was right originally. A crowd of authors say that all is right now, and I say that all will be right.
Yeah, I like that part. I remember that part. Wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't Rousseau the
But
guy? Sorry, Seth. I just
you're
want
good.
to. I want to check. Wasn't Rousseau the guy who, like, in Try the Autos, Nietzsche was like, yeah, this guy, he like didn't want to be Christian, but he couldn't bring the strength to like not be Christian, so he just looked like a fool.
Wait, was he?
Yeah.
I think
I
that was
think
the
I think
guy.
you're right, Howie.
But anyways, continue, Seth.
And they have a common enemy? Come on, Nietzsche. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Oh man. But I mean, I just thought that was kind of interesting because I think a lot of times when you think about like morality, right, and how um the church has been a weapon of this inequality, a weapon of this subjugation of women, right? It's been used as that in the past. So I thought it was interesting to see a Christian voice pretty much say, "Nah, that's dumb. Like what? That's not. That's you're disrespecting the perfection of God by insinuating that women are inferior, you know,
Yeah,
or
Yeah.
that the things that we come up with in society are evil, you know."
Right. And believe me, I am all for buying land out in the middle of nowhere, building a log cabin, and living the rest of my life in solitude in the woods. Right? But at the same time, I want to live in a log cabin, not a fucking cave, you know? And I
Yeah,
want to build that fucking log cabin with my own hands, and I want to have electricity still.
And you want
I still want
AC in that
farming.
log cabin.
And yeah, damn
yeah.
right I want AC in that log cabin. So it's like, no, Russo, you're a fucking idiot. Okay? It's not that we are inherently evil. This is a whole nother philosophical topic.
that's a
It's
big philosophical topic.
yes, we're not
Yeah.
inherently evil. It's nurture over nature. It's not, like that whole topic, it's not nature that made us evil, it's nurture that makes us evil. You know?
Is it?
Anyways. Oh yeah,
Well, in
100%.
the interest of us not going too much longer, I don't want to delve too deep into that one.
Because
I want to
that
play
could be
devil's
that's
advocate to
a
that
whole
one, but
thing.
I'm not going. We're
Save
not
it for
talking about
another
that.
episode.
Yeah.
They're definitely outliers.
So they kind of go off that because you're right. She is like someone who is like not super happy about the church, which big W because you don't have to be happy about the church to be a Christian. Who could have guessed?
Yeah.
Hey, and
Um,
she's walking the walk. She's doing what she's preaching. She's standing
yeah.
She
up to it.
is.
Dude,
So
that's what I really like. She is doing what she's preaching.
yeah,
She wrote a whole
Yeah.
book.
Oh,
agreed.
and that's the other thing. If fucking Jean Rousseau, if he really truly believed what he fucking said that we were inherently evil, why didn't he just blow his brains out? Sorry if that's crass, but no, he died from natural causes. So it's like you didn't even practice what you
You
preached,
you
dude.
sound like
If we're
Nietzsche right
evil,
now,
take yourself
Connor.
out.
Connor sounds like
Maybe I
Nietzsche.
do, but I just hate Rousseau. I'm sorry, he's a moron. Anyways, she
Um,
is practicing what she's preaching, though.
trigger warning.
Yeah, sorry
Um,
about that.
but so anyway, yeah, big double on that. But like she talks about how again people's false impression of the Lord, and that she says, well, for God to be like just and perfect and all this stuff, one attribute can't outweigh another attribute. They're all must be equal. Like every positive attribute isn't just there at the expense of another. And so she put if it's like otherwise, like if someone thinks otherwise, then it plays into them kind of projecting their own opinion on what they think is strength in a sense, and says, "Oh, well, this is God's largest strength." Like in the case she uses is like power, which ties back into the royalty aspect, but she kind of talks about mostly for men and how they go crazy for power. As I see it, mainly that like that is the best thing over justice and reason. And so it kind of also attaches to the idea of using reason to explain your prejudice. And so I think that's really interesting because it kind of, in a sense, it if you and I think okay, I think this. I think that you should have your own personal relationship with God 100%. I don't think it should be predetermined to you by the church, which as she's saying here as well. Um, but the idea of making God, like in a sense, not equal with himself, like his characteristics not equal with one another, and projecting, and that is as a result projecting like your own thoughts onto God, kind of ties to that idea of like ignorance or not ignorance, arrogance, in my opinion. I kind of like this idea, which is why I'm rolling with it. And as a result, it's a feedback loop. It's almost like a feedback loop. Like, oh well, this is God's greatest strength, and of course, this is what I'm going to look for. So I don't know. What do you guys think about the idea of like look like not prescribing one specific characteristic as ultra godly in a sense, um, as she's saying like not to do here, because it provides this whole feedback loop that she's been talking about throughout and throughout.
About it. I think like it just I know it easily fits pretty easily into like what I already believe. So I don't think I'm adding really much here.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that like if you're to truly believe that God is perfect, then you can't take one of his aspects and build it above the other because that would imply that some aspects of him are not as perfect as others.
Right.
From a theological perspective, but I also think from like a life experience philosophy perspective, there's just too many signs that like balance in life is kind of just the key at the
Dude,
core of everything.
I could go
And
talk
so
about balance.
I know, but if I'm gonna sit here and be like, yeah, balance seems pretty great, then the guy I have sitting in the sky that supposedly has this all figured out probably is pretty balanced himself, you know.
Why'd you assume it was a guy?
Okay, the
I'm just messing.
guy is a gender neutral term. I posit that. Anybody
buddy.
can be a little guy.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say this right now. God has to be a man. All right, and I'm gonna tell you this right
Has
now.
to be.
Yes.
Why are we doing this right at the end of the episode?
Listen, bear with me, because
I'm
if I was
bearing.
a woman, there's no way the world would be this fucked up. Okay.
Okay. Snap a picture.
Okay.
Cover Feminist Weekly right here. Like
Where's your matcha, dude? You got your tote bag back there too in the closet?
incredible.
Yeah, that was
Incredible. Good.
outstanding, Connor.
Honestly, insane save. I'm
Curveball
I'm
to
honored
the max.
to be sharing the mic with you.
I didn't see that coming whatsoever. I really thought how was that cut out.
I
That
didn't
have
know
to cut out a
what I didn't know
whole
what
portion.
he was gonna say there.
I was like looking at the timestamp. He's like, "How long is this gonna be?"
Okay.
All right, guys.
Well,
Well,
I guess I'll do it.
I
Unless
like this
anyone
part.
else wants to talk
This
about.
is
I think it was a pretty good
personally
episode.
okay.
I
I
thought it
like
was
the
yeah, I was
good.
really happy with it.
I enjoyed it a lot.
If you're a woman and you listen to this whole thing and you disagree, please let us know.
Actually,
Yeah.
though,
Humble us, please.
Tell us,
No, yeah,
tell
for
us
real.
every
I
place we went wrong.
I realized I
We
had
invite it.
comments off on the show, so they're on now.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. So
Okay,
don't
don't
tell
me
you can
that.
say
I don't
whatever
want to
you
go and
want.
look.
Say whatever you want.
Whatever.
Well,
Oh,
you'll
no.
probably there's probably some kind of screening, so you can't, I guess, say whatever. But I can't. Like, I
I'm
can also
excited.
see it and just delete the comment. So,
I'm genuinely excited to hear what Anna says about our conversation today. I'm very
I
curious.
know. Well,
Yeah,
she
she's
got
gonna
the.
be.
She's been studying in my room, and every once in a while, she's been messaging me on like my half of the conversation because obviously
Really?
she doesn't hear what I'm saying.
she's
That's
like,
so
Yeah.
cute.
Seth, I can't believe you're saying that right now.
When I was singing the 6-5 Blue Eyes Finance Trust Fund, she said "you," so that was great.
But yeah,
Next reading though,
yeah. So next reading. So I was looking at.
but kind of
It's a little
it's
rough
tough.
because
Yeah,
chapter 5 is
it's so long.
very
Is
long.
it?
I was
It
kind
has
of
sections.
I was thinking we can do this entire book based off, it's about 200 pages in like 4 sessions. So like this first one was
Yeah,
about like 43. Yeah. This one was like 43 pages. If we do about 43 pages on the rest of them, that's like the rest of the book.
yes,
So
it's less
We
than
would
200
run
pages
all
in
the
length.
way from chapter 4, just chapter 4 and 5, pretty much.
but we'd have to like
Yeah,
stop
if
in
we
the middle
do
of chapter 5.
Oh yeah, because
to hit
chapter
our
4 is a
43.
chonker. Holy,
Yeah,
they're
chapter 4.
both
It's long.
chonkers. God damn.
The
Maybe we
closest
should
thing
do.
to page 95, which is what would be next, is section
Stop at section
5.3,
5.4.
or yeah, section 5.3 or section 5.4. I would say probably want to do more than less. So like,
I was
yeah, I
gonna say at
guess,
that point we're like 13 pages away from the end, but 13 is a lot in this book.
No, yeah, how like you said, this shit is dense.
yeah, it really is. So
Yeah,
I guess,
'cause
okay,
Let's just go to.
let's go. What
we,
did you think?
we talked a lot of just about 43 pages, so it's like you think about it. We don't want to read too much and then just not have enough to cover. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if we have to stop in
Section
the
5
middle,
to section 5.4 then.
Yeah, we'll read to section 5.4. Chapter 4 to section
So
5.4. So
basically
to
up to
page 97.
96.
Or yeah,
Yeah,
up to
97.
96.
Yep.
Or up to 97 through 96.
Up to 97. Yeah. All right.
All right, boys.
Cool.
Sounds good.
All right, boys.
All right, boys.
See y'all later.
I'll see y'all.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Later.
Thank you for listening to today's book club. If you want to support us, please feel free to leave a rating and review on wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, so either one of those would be great help. Also, leave a follow. That'd be amazing too. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, please leave some comments, like the video, subscribe. Another way you can help support us is we are Amazon affiliates, which means you'll see in the description wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast on the episode, there will be a link to the book that we are currently covering, or if we spin the wheel to select our next book, you'll also see a link to the next book that we will be covering as well. And these links are to the books that the exact same books that we are reading during the podcast. So, if you're going to read the book anyways, it'd be a great help if you could use the link. It's going to be no additional cost to you, and we do get a small uh, percentage of the proceeds. So you get a book, and we also get a benefit. It's a win-win, honestly. And even if you don't get, like, even if you don't use the link, I still recommend getting the book. One, because it helps to read what we're reading, so you can kind of have some more context into what we are discussing, as well as having your own book. We're not covering everything in the book on the podcast. That's impossible to do in an hour and a half, and so it allows you to get some really nice information in there that again we just can't cover. And it also allows you to annotate your own book. So, if years down the line, you can kind of come back to the book, kind of remind yourself on the lessons you learned. And, if you reread it again, you can have almost like a conversation with yourself back in time too. It's really an investment to, I think, read and buy books. So again, thank you for listening to Book Club and can't wait to catch you in the next one.